Let me begin my speech by stating some names. China, United States, France, Australia. Do they sound familiar? Well, these are all really well-known country names that we have all heard of. They play a very important role in our world's economy, human rights, and international cooperation, and in many more aspects. Population-wise, they are bigger, and without a doubt, China is the leading figure of having over 1 billion people living in their country. And in addition to this, India is the 7th most populated country in our world today, meaning that whatever wide-scale conflict or breakout or any major event that happens in there, it will be more significant. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sharon Mann. I'm the first speaker of the opposition team, arguing against the motion that the breakup of Yugoslavia was more significant than the partition of India. So before I move on to my substantive arguments, I would just like to give some responses to the proposition's team points. Their first speaker has stated that the breakup of Yugoslavia was more significant than the partition of India, financially and demographically. However, we would like to respond to this argument by stating that in India, it has a much more larger population than Yugoslavia, which means that whatever consequences happen in India, the amount of people it will affect will largely outweigh the population in Yugoslavia, meaning that more people will be affected and more people will be suffering the consequences of this breakup of its partition. So moving on to our first point. The breakup of Yugoslavia was not more significant than the partition of India because there were simply many more deaths in India. In Yugoslavia, only President Tito died in 1992, while there were over 1 million deaths in India. We can always select a new president to run the country, and it is if we weigh the benefits and advantages and disadvantages, it is always better to have one person dying than having over 1 million people die, as you cannot replace the population. You cannot replace the people who run the country, who are in charge of the country's labor, who monitor the country. And because these are the people who help expand the country India into having international connections on a wider scale. Secondly, India is much more bigger than Yugoslavia if we physically speaking. India has a population of 1 billion people, and Yugoslavia only has a population of around 23 million, which means whatever happens in India, it affects more people, and it is much more significant. In addition to the fact that India is a much more well-known place that people are that people know of in comparison to Yugoslavia. And finally, the breakup of Yugoslavia was not more significant than partition of India because people in Yugoslavia were fighting for their ethnicity when people in India were fighting for their religion. And we believe that religion is much more important over ethnicity, as religion is the thing that brings people together, promotes unity to work together, and in other words, God is our first priority. And with the 3 reasons above, the breakup of Yugoslavia was not more significant than the partition of India because it resulted in more deaths. It is a much larger country, physically speaking. And finally, the things that they were fighting for, there were priorities between them. And for the reasons above, we are proud to oppose. Thank you.